This NASCAR 2025 Championship Final Four Picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITH.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome in to another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Welcome to the final episode of the off season, Cody. I mean, I don't know. Does the Clash count as a season?
Absolutely, it counts as part of the season. What are you talking about, Rod? The next time we're on this show, next Tuesday, Rod, the next time we record, we are going to be here making picks for a NASCAR Cup Series event that is happening that weekend. Sure, a lot of people will say the Clash doesn't count. It doesn't matter. It's exhibition. Sure, maybe it doesn't count in the grand scheme of points and everything, but it counts in the checkbook, baby. That's where we start winning money. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Can you bet on it? I mean, listen, if you could bet on it, then it counts. Everything counts if you can bet on it, right? Derek checking in early saying, Willie B gonna lock it in early and saying, all right, now it's time for Rodman and the Zebra. Heck yeah. Yeah, today we are going to be talking about, Championship 4 drivers from across the board. We're going to pick the playoff drivers for the Cup Series, and obviously we'll dabble into what that means for trucks and Xfinity as we start to break down this Championship 4. But yeah, I mean, this is where we're getting close. And so as we start talking down these final 4 picks, obviously, once the odds come out for who to make the Final Four, you know where we're going to be already, and you don't even need us to tell you when they drop. You'll be like, oh, well, Cody and Rod said this is going to happen, so I'll put my money there.
Sometimes picking the Final Four can be a lot different than betting on the Final Four to a degree, right? Sometimes it's not going to be best to be able to bet all 4 guys you pick, but you get the point, right? If we think that they can get there, they might be a pretty good bet.
Indeed. So that is the plan for today. Of course, like we said, the last episode of this off season. As we come back next week, hopefully the odds will be out and we can start talking about the Clash. King checking in saying not Championship 4 related, but JGR announced less than an hour ago a multi-year sponsorship deal with Saya and Ty for the 54.
Yeah, it's like a freight trucking company. That's good that JGR is getting caught up on their own news because that came out like 4 days ago. I think that was a deal, but maybe they just made it official. So there were some leaked photos, I believe, of Ty's car, which it's like a red and white paint scheme. Looks pretty solid. So it'll look good in Victory Lane this year, Rob.
Look better than FedEx in Victory Lane. Oh, too soon? I don't know. So does Amazon sponsor a car then? Is that where we're at?
Well, Prime is going to be on the Chase Elliott car at times this year. And I feel like maybe there was one other car that they were going to be on also because they obviously are now part of NASCAR. They're going to be broadcasting, I think it's 6 races. So, yeah, I did see that they will be a primary sponsor for Chase Elliott. And then I thought maybe there was another driver, but I can't quite remember.
Not the Prime Hydration person. No, that's not it. So, all All right. Well, we got plenty to discuss, and we will discuss it. But I want to tell you first that in honor of the big game, yes, the Super Bowl is still happening. Yes, the Chiefs are probably going to have to end up playing in it, even though, we're not really that stance here at the company. But whatever, it doesn't matter. But from now until the big game, you can benefit from whoever makes it there because we are giving you a hell of a deal in the merch store. 15% off of everything from now until February the 9th. If you use the promo code Big Game, all one word, BIGGAME. Get yourself a hoodie, get yourself some sweats, get yourself a Racing Gambling Podcast coffee mug, or any sort of racing podcast apparel. Cody's working on some nifty little new merch ideas. So if we can get that out before February 9th, that'd be a fantastic way to get 15% off of that. So make sure you hit that up. It's the merch store. Use promo code Big Game, all one word. Yeah, I love what you got cooking there, Cody. I can't wait to unveil it to the rest of the world.
This is going to be a good surprise. Our own merch idea and sort of piece, which is, we're in the finishing stages, Rod. So got to do a little testing and make sure it prints out how it should. But then it'll be available in the store. So something to look forward to.
It very much is. All right. So listen, let's do this. Let us kind of work our way up to picking the playoff drivers. I do have some news, and King is keen on the news, Rod. That is a piece of news that came out today. So we're going to start with Red Bull making their return to NASCAR. If you've not been around or you're newer to NASCAR, they previously, Red Bull Racing, not only an F1 team, but they also had a NASCAR team. Didn't do so well, but they left the sport. But they are going to return as the official energy drink partner of Trackhouse Racing. They're going to be a primary partner on Shane Van Gisbergen's number 88 car in 5 races. And, Rod, the debut of the next coming of great drivers in Connor Zilisch. He's going to make his Cup Series debut in the number 87 car for Trackhouse Racing. So it'll be a 4th edition for Trackhouse in the number 87 car, and that's going to be at COTA coming up here March 2nd. 18 years old, I believe Connor is. But this is a guy, we've talked about him already extensively for the Xfinity Series this season. He is going to be a name we talk about a lot this year and probably for the next 20 years or so because he is a really, really, really talented young kid, and we're going to see a lot of him going forward. So good to see that they're already, he's not even been full-time in Xfinity yet or trucks, anything, and they've already got his Cup Series debut on the schedule because this kid is the real deal, and it's going to be exciting to see him get some reps early on in that car. Talk about fast tracking. They're like, hey, boy, go ahead and go over there and get yourself in that Cup ride and start rolling around. I'm excited for that. I mean, we're going to see how he hangs with the big boys in this instance. But, I mean, spoiler alert, he's going to come up in a couple of these episodes, and this episode in particular for me, because we know the talent is already there. And obviously, if he's already getting a Cup ride, and the dude is barely even old enough to have graduated high school and had his first prom, then we're already talking that this guy's going to be, like you said, the second coming. I mean, look, King saying he's going to get 8 alive. I mean,
it's not going to be the same as coming into Xfinity and winning in your first start, which he did last year at Watkins Glen, I believe it was. It's not going to come in and be the immediate success like that, but he's going to be really good in the future. And so to start seeing him getting those reps now, it is going to be pretty great.
It will be pretty great. So I'm excited to see that as well. And as for Red Bull, I mean, look, man, if they love themselves some winning drivers, so we'll see if Shane Van Gisbergen.
Well, they flipped on a NASCAR race, saw 47 monster entries, and they were like, oh, maybe we should do something over there too.
Why are we losing the Monster? Why is Monster doing so well?
Monster's got this market cornered. But they've had a long-time partnership with SVG, so I think he sort of bridged that gap a little bit. So good to see them. One other piece of news that came out today, Rod, another full-time Truck Series entry. The Spire number 77 truck is going to be driven by ARCA Series champion Andres Perez de Lara. He is going to be the full-time driver of that car. So it might be somebody that we'll talk about a little bit throughout the season.
Indeed. I mean, these Spire trucks, we obviously know the 777. They're all good trucks. So hopefully we can find a spot to get in on him in the betting aspect of it. All right. So should we work our way through because look, just behind the scenes, I went ahead and put together an entire playoff scenario for all three series because I had to do it.
Let's do it. We got time. We're only 10 minutes in. We got time to do them all, Rob.
Okay, perfect. Then let's do it all. Let's start with the trucks. All right. Let's talk our way through the truck series. And obviously we know that 10 drivers make it into the postseason in the truck series. So really, Cody, I'm going to admit this was harder than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I thought it was going to be like,
the truck series is a bit loaded this year, Rod. There is a lot of really good drivers in the truck series in 2025 here. I think that the truck series is possibly more competitive than the Xfinity Series this year.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I left a lot of really good drivers on the cutting room floor just because it's like I didn't know where to put them, and then I was like, I don't get this. And then so I thought, because initially I'd put it up there, and I was like, oh, I'm missing one big driver, so I had to shift everybody down. And then I was like, well, how can I leave this person out? And it was a mess. So, all right, listen, as we start talking through these playoff drivers, let's go pretty much 10-1 is where I'm going to start. And I'll start the conversation with Mr. Daniel Hemrick in his new ride. I have him down as the last driver in the playoffs. I mean, if for no other reason, we think that he's going to come down and actually be decent in the truck series. And when you start to put Daniel, I mean, he's in the 19 truck, right? We know that that's Christian Eckes' truck from last year. That truck's fast. So how fast will Daniel Hemrick be in? That's really the question. He could probably be higher than 10, but I don't think that he will be less than 10. So
yeah, I don't have mine ranked out as Rod does. I'm doing mine on the fly, but I definitely have Daniel Hemrick in this. I think Hemrick is going to be a multi-race winner. So that's such a weird thing to say. But back down in the truck series and this good of a truck, how is he not? I mean, if he's not, that really shows us a lot about Hemrick. Don't forget he's an Xfinity Series champion, Rod. I get it, didn't win a bunch of races, only the one to win the championship, but very consistent driver. Like, he is going to be a top 3 bet that we're probably going to hit on a lot this year. He finished second place, almost as many times as Sheldon Creed has in the Xfinity Series. In good equipment, in these lower series, he can get stuff done. So Daniel Hemrick is absolutely in the playoffs for me as well.
Yeah, and for me, it was like I said, I don't know. I put him 10th only because I just don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the points you made were fantastic, but I just don't know. And we had so much fun talking about Daniel Hemrick last year.
King saying if Hemrick can't be a top 10 driver in the 19 this year, give him an apron and a name tag. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong there. Hemrick will be probably he might even make my Final Four. I'm pretty high on Hemrick this year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to
words I never thought would be uttered on this show, Ron.
No, I never thought I'd heard it say that true. So, all right, let's move on to my number 9, and that's Caden Honeycutt. Again, we talked about how good we think he's going to be, the strides that he's ended up making this last year. He did finish 19th, but he only ran 14 races. He did have 2 top 5s, 6 top 10s in that 45 truck. He's back in it again for a full-time ride, and I got to think that he's going to make the playoffs this year. I think he'll point his way in. If nothing else, he may even win one.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Honeycutt. I think that he's going to be a young guy, probably early in the season as they sort of sleep on him a bit. Hopefully, we're going to be able to take advantage of some top 10 or top 5 bets in the truck series. Top 10s would be great if we could get those, please. But top 5s for sure, we'll be able to bet on him. Yeah, very excited for Honeycutt. I also have him making the playoffs.
Beautiful stuff. All right. And then the 8th place driver from last year, I'm putting him in 8th place again this year, and that's Tyler Ankrum. Look, he's not flashy. He's not glamorous. He's not gonna make noise every single week. He'll compete. He'll do what he did last year with 12 top 10 finishes, 6 top 5 finishes, and just be enough to put himself in that playoff hunt. But I can't see him doing much more than that.
I have a feeling this is where we depart and might be the only spot that we disagree actually in the playoffs. I do not have Tyler Ankrum making the playoffs, Rod. Very underwhelmed for him being in that McAnally truck last year. Maybe that's what Hemrick turns into. Who knows? Because it's a similar truck. Although the 19 truck should be better than the other one. But I did not see really anything that impressed me about Ankrum last year. And with as loaded as this truck series field is this year, and the resurgence of Canadian, Stuart Friesen, Rod. Stuart Friesen is going to snag a spot in the playoffs, and that is going to leave Tyler Ankrum out.
Ugh, see, that's where I can't. I love the Canadian driver that's not Canadian, that's from Canada, that's actually from Canada. But I just, like I said, I'm not. I can't put him there. Like, he's been disappointing so much, and yeah, resurgence, but resurgence to where? I mean, last year he was 12th. Okay, fine. He'll resurge to 11th, and that'll leave him one spot out of the playoffs. But yeah. All right. We'll continue on down the list, but I would very much like to tell you about the playoffs. Playoffs? Yeah, we're talking playoffs for NASCAR, but playoffs in football are happening right now, so we're talking playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Are you ready to place your first bet? Of course you are. Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. But there's not just football. No, there's actually esports as well. You want to make money off of kids playing Call of Duty? This is the place to do it. Call of Duty League is taking place, and DraftKings has odds for that. The Vancouver Surge taking on the Carolina Royal Ravens. That's a 1.5 map spread for that one. Los Angeles Thieves taking on the Miami Heretics. You want Atlanta FaZe taking on the Boston Breach? It's all there for you right there. How about LA Gorillas, mate? Yeah, they're taking on the Vegas Falcons. I'm telling you guys, this is a lot of fun. You should go down this rabbit hole with me and not just pay attention to the popular stuff. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 bets in bonus bets instantly. So go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code SGP. That's code SGP for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
So we have moved through the first 8 of the Truck Series. Let's go on to number 7. I'm giving the nod here to one Ben Rhodes. Definitely going to be in the mix. He won't stir the mix, nor will he probably be in the end mix, but he'll at least make it to the very beginning of the mix. 9 top 10 finishes.
Don't ever count Ben Rhodes out, Rod.
But 9 top 10 finishes, 3 top 5 finishes last year. He did finish in overall 9th place in the standings. So,
he's a perennial playoff guy. He continues to find a way in there. Sometimes when he gets in there, he gets hot and accidentally wins championships. He's done that multiple times. So, love Ben Rhodes. He also makes my list.
Indeed. Like I said, he's going to be there. You just know it. And that's really where it is. There's just 7th is only because I don't see him making the top 4, but I also see him being in the mix. All right, let's move on to the Truck Series newcomer. That's not a newcomer. That's a newcomer this year. I'm putting Chandler Smith in the playoffs for his first year back into the Truck Series. We already talked about it too, where this demotion may have been the best thing for him because he was going to be looking for a ride anyways, and he was ready to work for his dad's construction company, but his phone has been nonstop ringing off the hook now. And
that hard work at the construction company has been paying off. Bottom of Daytona 500 ride. Chandler Smith is going to win multiple races. Easily makes the playoffs. No argument from me there either, Rob.
Yep, indeed. So Chandler Smith will be in that one. Then number 5, I know this is where we're probably going to depart because I'm putting Nick Sanchez back up around the top of the look. He was 5th place last year.
I wouldn't do that, Rod, because he's in the Xfinity Series this year.
Oh, son of a bitch. This is what happens when my notes were bad. This is why I was like, I'm having a hard time leaving people off. And for some reason in my head, I was like,
who's the person you left off, Rod? That's we get the big reveal now.
I don't know. I left off guys like Tanner Gray.
Me too.
I was like, or Chase Purdy was another one that I kind of left off.
I left him off as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then we'll skip over that because Rod doesn't know what he's talking about. Go ahead, trolls. Do your thing. Nick Sanchez not even in the Truck Series. Rod's stupid. All right, fine. Let's move on to the 5th place guy. How about Raja Karuth?
Yep. Raja Karuth makes my list as well. We obviously saw him win Las Vegas last year, 80-1. Take that, trolls. And yeah, I think that we're going to continue to see him build on that, have a strong season. I also have Raja Karuth making the playoffs.
King's talking about Crafton. Listen. Come on.
What is it, 2005?
This is not the way this works. Nick Fortune saying, good afternoon, Hot Rod and Sassy Cody. Hope Ty Gibbs made your list. Not for trucks, but we'll get there for sure. And then he's saying Truck Series, Jack Wood. Yes, definitely Jack Wood in the top 10 for sure.
Jack Wood is full-time this year, Rob. That's not going to make the top 10 either.
All right, I think we're moving into the top 4, right? I think that's where we're at for this. That, for me, Lane Riggs. Putting Lane Riggs into the final 4 in this one. We are already high on that 38 truck. Sky's the limit for him now.
Yeah, I mean, missed the playoffs last year, but then wins the first 2 races of the playoffs. Things really clicked for him in the playoffs. Very, very excited. He's unfortunately very short odds to win the championship this year, which shows you what the books think of him. We obviously agree with that. Sucks because it's going to be hard to bet on, obviously, from that perspective. But Lane Riggs will win multiple races and easily find his way into the playoffs.
Yeah. Again, he finished 11th in the standings last year in his first, but he had 2 wins, 7 top 5s, 10 top 10s. I mean, the dude was a beast. And so I think we're in for more out of him in this particular season. Number 3 on my list, Grant Enfinger. One guy that really, you want to talk about a resurgence, that he came on so strong in the second half of last season. I think that continues. I think we see him back in the final 4 again, because that is where he was last year. And with the departure of guys like Taylor Gray, with the departure of guys like Christian Eckes, I think that gives Enfinger just a little bit more of a, I don't want to say easier path, but much more of a path to repeat being in the final 4 this year.
Yeah, again, this is another one that he's a perennial guy that's always there, always in the mix, still winning races, veteran driver. You know, we were concerned going into last year, this new team, I mean, not new team, it was an old team, but they had never done much. What were they going to do with this influx now? And they really built something there, made it to the Final 4 last year. Wouldn't be shocked to see them there again. Bit of a sleeper pick to win the title this year for sure. So, yeah, also Grant Enfinger very much in agreement there.
Indeed. All right. Well, piano dealers across America unite. Number 2 on my list, Ty Tchaikovsky Majeski. Yeah, I mean, listen, he's a champion from last year. I don't think he's going to win it again this year, but I definitely think that this team made gigantic strides in being able to be in the conversation. I think now, like I said, with Eckes gone, with some of these other guys that were kind of thorns in his sides not driving anymore, he's going to have a little bit of a better opportunity to take advantage of some of the young guys and kind of get back up there again. Like I said, I don't know if he's going to win it again. I don't think I've said he's going to win it again. I'd like to go back through the records and see, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, it very much could, right? He just did it this past season and really good on short flats. But yeah, this is another one that's just, we're getting to the obvious picks at this point, right? Majeski, again, perennial playoff guy. He's going to be in the playoffs. Does he make the Final 4 is the bigger question, obviously, but he'll be in the playoffs for sure.
Yes, he will, which brings us to, drum roll, please. It is Heim time. I mean, how can you not already put him up? He's already probably won this championship, but we just don't know it yet. So, yeah. Let's just...
King said to pencil him in. There's no need to pencil him in. You can just write that in pen. He will be in the playoffs.
He definitely will be in the playoffs. And so that's, I mean, essentially, yeah, that's he will be in the playoffs. And I think at the end of it, he'll be pretty much, I think he'll be the regular season champion for sure.
Yeah. Maybe, Rod. Maybe the regular season champion. I think he's gonna have some competition. So, do you have a contender for your 10th playoff guy since Nick Sanchez was disqualified? Can I talk you in? Look at that, right on cue. I swear to God, this guy just knows when to jump in. JDK, afternoon, fellas. Can I talk you into our favorite Canadian? Not JDK, other favorite Canadian, in Stuart Friesen? Or is it a Gio Ruggiero that sneaks in? Does Timmy Hill win at Daytona? Punch that playoff ticket early? Is it Jack Wood? Is it the old man, Matt Crafton, Tanner Gray, Chase Purdy? Who else could make it, Rob?
Well, no. So I have 10 already. I got Hendrick, Majeski, Enfinger, Riggs, Caruth, Smith, Rhodes, Ankrum, Honeycutt, and Hemrick. That's my 10.
Okay.
So I accidentally doubled up because my brain knew that Sanchez was not part of the mix anymore. And so
none of those guys are then. Sorry, you're all out.
yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. None of the guys make my list. So
who's your final four, Rod? Is it the top four you had listed?
It's the top four I had. It's Riggs, Enfinger, Majeski, and Heim.
My final four is Chandler Smith, Daniel Hemrick, Corey Heim, and Grant Enfinger.
Lane Riggs not making your final four, huh?
Unfortunately, no, Rod. He did.
Ooh, spicy. Yeah, I don't know. I think Chandler Smith will be good, but I don't know if he'll be in the final four. Like that's the only issue that I have is that how high does he actually make it? Like,
yeah. It's definitely a couple upsets there. Obviously, Majeski, Riggs, two guys that should make the final four, but you can't just pick the chalk four, Rod. So I'm going different. Those are my final four.
Indeed. No, JDK, I did not say. I mean, I may have said Henrik twice in the same sentence, but not twice on the list. So, Honeycutt,
also
Henrik.
had Xfinity drivers on the truck list earlier. So,
for the love of God, Rod, you need a new profession. All right, let's go over to the Xfinity Series. But before we do, I want to take this opportunity to formally introduce you to my buddies over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus for all of sports. Underdog is always making it easier to win with profit boosts and gimme pick'ems. NFL, college basketball, NBA, NMA, and NASCAR, Formula One, esports, so much more. You can also use specials to boost on all of your flex entries. Said it earlier, I'm going to say it again. They have got Saquon Barkley's rushing total or somewhere around that 130 mark. Got to smash the less than on that one because I'm telling you right now, I get it. I know he's going to run wild, but 130 yards is a lot to hang on a team. I know he's done it several times over. I know he's done it against the Commanders as well, but I don't know. I just don't feel another 130-yard rushing game coming from Saquon Barkley. So give me the lower than, the less than on that one. Sign up with our promo code in the meantime. Race SGPN. You're going to claim a special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's underdogfantasy.com promo code Race SGPN. Now watch, he's going to go out and smash a 300-yard game against everybody. So yeah, it's that's the way it works for me. I mean, it's just so hard. Yeah, JDK's thing.
Highest rushing projection in NFL gambling history or fantasy history in this case. But he's been getting it done, Rod.
I know, but it's just so 130 yards. Like, yeah, he's getting it done a lot.
The thing with him, like with him and Henry throughout the season too, though, is I would look at those so many times during games and I'd be like, God, it's so big. But then he just like 1-2 big runs. Like that's the thing is Saquon will just hit you for 68 all of a sudden, and that makes that total so much more achievable. So yeah, we'll see.
Yep.
And CYTY checking in. Gibbs Commanders connection. I wonder if Joe will be. I think Joe was in Detroit last week. I thought maybe I saw. Maybe that was the week before. But yeah, been seeing him on the Commander sideline there. So yeah, maybe we'll get a Joe Gibbs appearance this weekend in Philly.
Rod, can you sound clips? It's so big. Laugh out loud. I did see a funny video actually. Just my buddy just sent me a funny little video, and I don't tend to watch many of them, but this one was crazy. So this guy, he got the script. The Commanders are playing. The Commander-in-Chief is passing bills in the land of the Eagle. So he got the NFL script. That was what it is, right? The Commander-in-Chief is passing bills in the land of the Eagle. So that's the 4 teams that are playing. That's the script.
There you go.
All right. Let's move on to the Xfinity Series before we get canceled. All right. Cody, I got 12 drivers on this list.
I got 12 drivers on this list, Rod.
Beautiful. That's exactly what needs to happen. All right. I'm going to start.
Should we do it the other way? Should we start at the top with the obvious ones?
Do you want
then, I don't know. It's up to you.
All right. Let's start with the obvious ones. Number one.
We'll get the Justin Allgaiers out of the way, right?
Yep, Justin Allgaier. Right.
Okay. He's going to make the playoffs, obviously, defending champion, perennial playoff guy. He's going to be there. So easy
Justin
peasy.
Allgaier. Justin Allgaier, check. Number 2 on my list, Jesse Love. That is going to be a guy that we're going to be paying close attention to all of next year. He's going to be up there, man. This kid's got it.
Yeah, Jesse Love. I love that pick, Rod. We've talked about him a lot last year. We're going to continue that conversation this year. He will easily make the playoffs as well.
This name on my list, I don't know if you're gonna agree with me on this one, but how about Brandon Jones?
Oh, you think I'm not going to agree with you? Brandon Jones returning to JGR, the number 1 JGR driver this year, Rod. Brandon Jones not only going to make the playoffs, I haven't picked my Final Four yet, but there's a good chance he's in it. Might even be winning the championship, Rod.
Oh, that's funny. Just by the way,
I might have already placed a bet on Brandon Jones to win the championship, just for the record.
Yes, you have. I remember you doing that. All right, so Brandon Jones was my 3rd driver on this list. Austin Hill is number 4, sneaking into the Final Four, in my opinion.
I forgot you're giving it out in order. Not in order for me, but Austin Hill does make the playoffs, obviously, very easily as well.
Yep, because he does. That's just what he does. That's Austin Hill for you. It's like, oh, there he is. He's in the championship 4. All right.
It's not a waste, JDK, when it cashes.
That's true.
He was a JRM. It was not a good fit. The reason that I was so in love with Brandon Jones before was because when he was at JGR, he made me a shit ton of money. I lost it all while he was at JRM, but we're going to earn it back this year. We're looking at it.
I promise to sing his name every time we talk about him too. So
and look at the JGR lineup, like super weak in Xfinity this year. Like, sorry, you know how much I love JGR for Xfinity, but this is not going to be the case this year. It's going to be a lot of fucking JRM on the show this year. So I hope you all are ready for that. But Brandon Jones is the guy over there. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Well, then you're not going to like this next one, because this next one is his teammate in Taylor Gray, who's going to be making his start.
I will say Taylor was close to not making it, Rod, but the top 10 were very easy for me. And then I got to 11th and 12th and I was like, God, who else do I put in here? And you sort of look down and there's some names on the board. You're like, okay, maybe, but I almost stuck like an Alfredo in here, but I was like, I can do that over Taylor. So Taylor does sneak into the playoffs in my sheet here, Rod.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Taylor Gray, that's one where we saw him compete quite a bit, obviously, not just in the Truck Series, but also in the Xfinity Series, and he hung well. He had some off races, as you're probably going to tend to do when you're a rookie driver, but overall, just pretty impressed with the way that works. And look, he's driving the 54. He's driving the big man's car, right? So
and Ty Gibbs will be the listed owner of that. So there's going to be a big contingency of our fan base, Ty Gibbs fans, as we've learned. They're going to be pulling hard for that car in Xfinity. And look, I've been in love with Taylor Gray for years, Rod. I've publicly professed that on the show. So I wish I was a little more excited for him this year. I guess I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm hoping that he maybe does a little better than I'm thinking he will.
Indeed. Okay, so next on my list is our favorite Canadian driver that's not from Canada, but actually from California. Sheldon Creed will second place his way into the playoffs. However, he will not make the Final Four, as he is wont to do. He is in this brand new Haas factory car, which, I mean, again, it's gonna be a competitive car in the Xfinity Series, but I don't think it's gonna be a championship car in the end.
I think that they'll have an opportunity to compete for sure. So the way that I'm looking at this, and I think you're probably in a similar boat, Haas Automation team is what SHR was and now is. In the Cup Series, they cut it down to one car. Everybody left the company. All kinds of problems, changes. It's a single car team. You don't generally see much. It's called Custer. Not excited for much from that team. On the Xfinity side of things, nothing has changed in that entire building over there. I'm sure maybe some people still left in normal offseason changes, but as far as that program goes, that stayed completely the same. It's no longer called SHR. It's called Haas Automation now, but it's all the same team that we saw Cole Custer win the championship 2 seasons ago, be competitive in. We saw Riley Herbst be competitive in. Now with Creed over there and with Mayer over there as well, I think that's going to continue to be close to at least what it was, again, in a weaker Xfinity field overall. I think that Creed will easily make the playoffs in this car as well.
I concur. How about number 7 on my list? Carson Kvapil. Again, we talked about how in the Cup Series, it's very difficult for rookies to make.
I'm really shocked at one name that has not come up on your list, and we're all the way down to 7. I got to tell you, Rod.
We'll get there. I'm sure we'll get there. But yeah, Carson Kvapil, obviously in the 88 this coming season. I mean, that's a big number. That's a big team. That's a big driver. It's a guy that we've talked about several times over. It's Connor Zilic. Rod, get your head out of here.
Which one is it? Is it Kvapil or Zilic?
No, it's Kvapil. It's definitely Quapple. My mouth gets ahead of my eyes.
No, I'm excited for Quapple. He's near the bottom of my list, but does make the list. I think he'll find his way into the playoffs. I think the JRM really is the team this year. We've seen some seasons in the past. You get the Byrons, the Elliots over there, even Gregson until Gibbs kind of came along. Very dominant team. I think we're going to see that from them this year. They've got a lot of Cup guys coming down that are going to kill the field in races as well. But yeah, I do think that Quapple has a strong enough season to at least get him into the playoffs.
Yeah, driving the one car, by the way, vacated by Sam Mayer. These Carson and these Connors are all swapping my head around. Same team, too. God, this is going to be a fun 2025 trying to get Rod to get this thing right. So,
yep. It always takes those first couple races to figure out who's in what car, because you're going to see like the Bass Pro Shops 19, and it's going to be so hard when you've been trained for so long that's Martin Truex to realize that's not Martin Truex, and same thing for a lot of these Xfinity rides.
It's Chase Truex Briscoe Carson. All right, number 8 on my list, Ryan Sieg.
Yes, let's fucking go. He made my list too, Rod. Ryan Sieg is a playoff driver. He's going to win at Daytona here in a couple of weeks, and secure that spot nice and early. Ryan Sieg will be in the Xfinity Series playoffs this year.
Yep. I mean, Ryan Sieg made a hell of a move last year, finishing 13th. So I think he does improve those 3 spots.
Came on strong at the end of the year. I think they're going to continue to build that program up. Very, very excited for Sieg. We're going to be talking a lot about him this coming season.
Or 1 spot, to be honest with you, because it's 12 in the Xfinity Series. So
exactly.
All right.
And Sam Mayer, by the way, is the other Haas automation driver. So he'll be teamed up with Sheldon Creed. King in the chat was asking where he is going to be racing.
Well, it's funny he mentions that because the next guy on my list was Sam Mayer. Good timing, King.
Yes.
Yep, Sam Mayer in that Haas factory team.
Yeah, Mayer also makes my list pretty easily. I think that, again, I don't have really any lowered expectations for this Haas team. He was solid over at JRM. Now you kind of step up and be one of the top 2 guys, right, at SHR or Haas now as it is, because there is only 2 guys. So that helps with that. But yeah, I think Mayer will have a solid season and make the playoffs.
Mayer placing 9th last year in sort of a, I don't want to say lackluster because he had 3 wins last year, but sort of a forgettable, I guess, second half to the season for Sam Mayer as he just kind of missed out on everything altogether. All right, next on my list is Sammy Smith. One of those guys that'll make the playoffs. I don't know how much more he'll do after that. He was in 11th place last year after winning 7 top 5, 16 top 10s. It's JRM, man. Like that's what's about to happen.
Yeah, and I think that's why I ended up just putting him in, because I was like, well, he is a JRM car. You expect that to be good. There's a couple guys that got left off on my list that I did consider over Smith. He's the last guy that I penciled in on my sheet. There's not a lot to be excited about with Sammy Smith. There hasn't been. He was at JGR. You were sort of excited. It didn't really pan out well. It was over to JRM, and he's kind of just been an afterthought. I mean, really, you look at their lineup this year, and he's kind of the last driver still of their main guys, because you've got these young kids moving up and in that are more exciting and should have better seasons than he does or than he's going to. And it's just not a lot of excitement for Sammy, but I think that he'll have a good enough season that he ends up making the playoffs. He could win. There's might be some opportunities for him to snag a win here or there. He's really good at a track like Phoenix, so maybe grabs that spring win and locks in early. But I do have Sammy Smith just barely making it.
Yeah, like I said, it's not you're not going to get overly excited about it. It's just going to happen. You'll be like, yeah, I expected it to happen, but that's about as far as it'll go. All right, now finally at 11th place, let's talk about Connor Zilic. This is the
Jesus Christ, Rod. How is he 11th place on your sheet here? What are we doing?
I get the hype, but I also know that there's
You're talking about the 2025 Xfinity Series champion, Connor Zilic.
Wow.
Zilic he's winning. I was placing futures bets yesterday, Rod. I bet on Connor Zilic to win the title. Connor Zilic is going to come in and fuck this series up, especially in a down season like we sort of have with Xfinity this year. Connor Zilic, yeah, he's your champion this year, Rod.
Well, okay, so first place in
my champion at least.
First place in
Maybe
Watkins
not
Glen,
yours.
obviously. No, it's Justin Allgaier. Yeah, back to back. Once the championship wins come, they come in bunches. Kansas 4th place, Homestead 12th, and then Phoenix 4th place. I mean, you're right.
This is Ty Gibbs all over. Ty Gibbs comes in, wins his first career race on a road course, shocks everybody. Well, maybe some people. I had been on Ty Gibbs in that race. That's when I first fell in love with Ty Gibbs. When somebody cashes, I think he was like 65-1 in the first time you've ever really even heard of him. You never forget him, Rod. And Zilich comes in, wins that race at Watkins Glen, is impressive in the other things. Now he's coming in full time for JRM rather. There's no really big hitters at JGR. Like it is wide open, and he is going to tear this field apart, have a really good season. And we're going to be talking about him in the Cup Series full time. Look, they're already rushing him into the Cup Series starts this year. Is he in the 99 car next year potentially after he wins the championship this year? If not, by 27, he's a full-time Cup Series guy.
I mean, like we talked about him at the beginning of the show, and I think the sky's the limit for him as well. So, although I got him capped at a 9th place sky right now, but yeah, we'll see for sure. All right, last but not least on the Xfinity Series list, putting in the driver of the 18 JGR because it's JGR. I'm putting William Sawalich in 10th place.
Oh my God, no!
It's the equipment.
You're leaving out one of my Final Four drivers, Rod. What is wrong?
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
let me talk about Sawalich real quick. In just that, like I said, this is a JGR car, and when we talked about the top tiers of equipment in the Xfinity Series, it's JRM, it's JGR. Now, obviously, last year the drivers elevated JGR equipment, but I mean, how bad is JGR equipment? Right? It can't be bad that it won't be in the playoffs. I don't see that happening. I don't see a William Sawalich driving the 18 not making it in to at least the final 12 of the playoffs. So that's where I'm at on Sawalich.
Yeah, I'm out on Sawalich. I mean, maybe he makes it. A Sammy Smith type doesn't, but he was on the cutting room floor there. Did not make it. Christian Eckes, Rod, in the Kaulig car. How do you leave him out of the playoffs? He is one of my Final Four drivers, along with the 2025 champion Connor Zilich. Jesse Love makes an appearance in the Final Four, Rod, and Brandon Jones. That's right. It is a down year in Xfinity. Things are going to be shaken up by young guys, by guys changing teams. Justin Allgaier wins the title, doesn't even make it back to the Final Four. Zilich, Love, the young guys coming out there. Eckes moving up, proving his worth, makes it to the Final Four. And Brandon Jones in the return to JGR. Let's fucking go.
I mean, okay. We'll
How do you leave Christian Eckes out of the playoffs, Rod? Come on.
Because
all the love for AJ Allmendinger in that car all these years, and you leave him out of the playoffs?
Yeah, but I don't know how much of an impact he's going to make right away. Like, I don't know.
All he has to do is be in the top 12 in the regular season.
That's true, but I already gave you my top 12, and they don't include Christian Eckes. He'll be 13th. Let's put it that way.
And you left Nick Sanchez out of the top 12 too. Wow, look!
Because I put him in the Truck Series. I demoted him already, so that's where he's at. All right, then let us move on to the Cup Series, where we will take 16 stabs at who is going to make the playoffs. Fine, we'll start from the top one more time, Cody, where we will take out the obvious ones. I got Kyle Larson first on my list. That is where we start.
Well, Kyle Larson just squeezed in, Rod. I do have Kyle. Of course, Kyle Larson makes the playoffs. Like that's the given of all givens, right?
Is your pen broken? So you're like, I don't know what happened. It started to
even
spell
if it was broken. I would just like scrape it on the paper, so it was fine. Yes, Kyle Larson definitely makes the playoffs. Tyler
Reddick definitely making the playoffs this year as well.
Absolutely.
All right, Christopher Bell making the playoffs again as well.
Yep. I mean, and like these guys just don't need any explanation, right? If you know anything about NASCAR, like these are the guys we fully expect them to be in the playoffs. Christopher Bell also on that list.
Ryan Blaney on that list as well.
Yep.
Chase Elliott on that list.
Yep.
William Byron on that list.
Yep.
This may be a little spicy controversial because I'm putting Kyle Busch in that list to make the playoffs.
Not controversial at all. Kyle Busch does make the playoffs this year, Rob.
Listen, there's some folks that are standing out there right now saying Kyle Busch is not going to do it. Well, Kyle Busch probably will do it. So, all right. Denny Hamlin making the playoffs. I have him next on the list.
So I was sort of considering being a little spicy on Denny Hamlin and leaving him out of the playoffs. But I think that's that's too much of an overreaction. I think that he's going to not be as good this season as maybe we've seen, but Denny is still a great driver. He's going to be consistent. Maybe the wins don't come, but he's going to figure it out. He's going to make the 16 and be in the playoffs.
It's 16. That's what I'm saying. Like there's
and that's
there's 17 driver or there's 16 drivers better than Denny Hamlin at the end of the season. That's when you definitely hang it up.
You know, you say that about Kyle Busch, who's younger than Denny Hamlin, and he doesn't make the playoffs last year. So, and if you look at the playoffs every single year, Rod, there are big surprises and guys that don't make it. Last year, Ross Chastain didn't make it. Kyle Busch didn't make it. The previous season, we had Martin Truex Jr., I think was that year that he didn't make it, or maybe that was 2 years ago. Chase Elliott obviously doesn't make it a couple of years ago. Now, that was injury-related, yes, but still doesn't make it. It does seem like there's always a big guy or two sort of left out of the mix, for sure. But, yeah, I do think that Denny does make it in there.
All right, good. Then I am also going Bowman on that list. He is 9th on that list.
I mean, he's a top 10 guy and always finds his way in there. He's going to be in the playoffs as well.
I know it's an odd year, but we also have already established that Joey Logano at least wins one race in an odd year. Therefore, I feel like it's going to happen, and he's going to make the at least the playoffs. But after that, then it's kind of anything goes. I think he makes the top 16 at the end of the year.
I left him off, Rod. Joey Logano not in my playoffs this season. I think that the odd year curse strikes again. Maybe he gets a win in the playoffs when it doesn't matter anymore. But look, he was on track to not make the playoffs last year, if not for a 5 overtime win. That's the thing about this, how this all works is, you know, in the old days, he was not a dominant guy that points raced all year and he got the championship. He's a guy who gets it done in the clutch, and you've got to give him a lot of credit for that. Personally, I think it's harder to win titles now than it used to be because you do have to be playoff mentality and get it done at the right time. But he almost missed the playoffs altogether. I think he does miss the playoffs this year.
Okay, but listen, he was first last year, obviously. 12th the year before that. First, 8th, 3rd, 5th, 1st, 17th in 2017, 2nd, 6th, 4th, 8th. I mean, as bad as we say the swing is, it's not that bad of a swing. Like, I think he's going to make.
But even in his even year when everything's supposed to go good, and obviously does at the end of the day, he almost missed the playoffs last year. If he doesn't, I'm pretty sure the math worked out. Maybe he ended up pointing his way in at the end, but if he hadn't won the 5 overtime race at Nashville, he wouldn't have even been in the playoffs when he won at Atlanta. And you obviously then have a completely different champion because he's not in there. So I just, and again, hardest guy in the garage.
Yeah. Listen. If I hadn't cut my finger at a Denny's in Fresno, California, my life would have been completely different now.
But that's what I'm saying is, yes, champion, and you got to give him a lot of respect. But I think that Ryan Blaney gets more respect when it comes to, is he going to be in the playoffs? Yes, because Ryan Blaney's a lot more consistent and gets it done on a week-to-week basis. And Joey Logano, we talk about this a lot. He could go win the race, or he could be running with Cody Ware all day, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And like legit just running back there. It's so weird. And not to take it's no disrespect to 3-time champion, great, walk into the Hall of Fame, all of that. But I think there's a realistic chance that he misses the playoffs.
All right. Then that's our first big debate there at number 10. I love it. All right. I know that this guy's gonna be high on your list. In fact, just 11 and 12, both RFK boys, Buescher and Brad K, making the playoffs.
You know it, Rod. Yeah. Buescher, Brad K, they both easily make the playoffs. Not a problem there.
Nope. And then 13 and 14 on my list are Gibbs drivers. In fact, one is Gibbs. Ty Gibbs in 13th. Chase Briscoe in 14th. Now Cody, this is where I had trouble because I was like, I don't want to put Briscoe in because there's another person I want to put in on this. But then I thought to myself, I can't really leave Briscoe out because
same debate for me, because how do you leave him off when he makes it last year in SHR equipment? Now he's going to the 19. It's an upgrade in ride. We know that he's a talented driver and it should be there. We just haven't necessarily seen it fully come out. But how do you leave him off the list? It was a challenge. He was one of the last guys that I wrote in here But I do think you have to have Chase Briscoe making the playoffs.
Yeah, he bumped somebody I was really kind of leaning into being in there by winning a race, but then we kind of talked through him on the cutting room, the last guy on the outskirts looking in. But yeah, all right. So number 15 is Ross Chastain. That is who I'm going with for 15. And then that's look. TK,
did you leave him off, Rod?
I did.
Oh my God.
I know he defaults in but what if, I know, right? Like I need a Bishop kind of screaming at me to get my head right. But no, listen, the only reason I'm saying we live in a world now where shit catches up too fast. And I think SVG is going to win a race, but what happens if he doesn't? Like there's these 15 drivers in front.
If he doesn't, he's not making the playoffs. I will tell you that. And so he has to win one. And, TK saying he defaults in, and that's what everybody's take is. And I do have him making it, but it's somewhat reluctantly because I really do think that he should go win at Mexico. I think, and that's why if it was just Chicago still on the schedule, I'd be a little more hesitant. Although Watkins Glen is back in the regular season. He was really good there. Sonoma is going to be good. Coda is going to be good. He's got so many opportunities where he really does have somewhat of a leg up on the field. You give him that. But I had to include him in here. So I left Joey Logano off, Rod, for SVG. I just want to make sure all you SVG people who come after me with your pitchforks realize that.
That's some spiciness. Listen, King makes a fantastic point because this is where I struggled. He said, this is what I was doing because I was looking at all of these races and the wins that we were saying, especially when you go back through our race win totals. It's like there really could be this year. I feel like 17 winners, and that would be
and this is why I get so fucking mad when TV tells you after somebody wins the Daytona 500 they're locked into the playoffs because they're not fucking locked in. And I've repeated this over and over on the show the last few years. Oh, locked into the playoffs. Like, no, they're fucking not locked in because one win doesn't lock you in. 2 wins locks you in, Rod. Even then, you're not necessarily locked in because there's a lot of things it could do to get you disqualified from the playoffs, as we've seen. But we've never had 17 winners. So there is that, right? It would be tough to get there, I think. But looking at the field, Rod, and looking at where we are in the state of competition right now, would it be crazy to have 17 winners? No, I could easily pick 17. I could probably pick 20 winners off this sheet. And that's if you don't have a Harrison Burton win at Daytona and a Ricky Stenhouse win at Daytona also, or all these other crazy things. So 17 winners is definitely not out of the question. If there is 17 winners, I think SVG could easily be the guy on the outside looking in. So I did include him in here because of Mexico City. And, but it's a lot of people just have him penciled in. Okay, he's in, he's good. Remember when they did that with AJ Allmendinger a couple years ago, and that didn't work then, right? And SVG is an elite talent, and he's in a better car now in Trackhouse. That's why I couldn't leave him off the list. But it's not as much of a shoe-in as I think everybody thinks for sure.
So for me, 16, 17, and 18. All right, it was Allmendinger, Wallace, SVG. I almost left Briscoe off for SVG. That was where my big consternation was because I did not want to have Van Gisbergen out of the playoffs. But then we talked about how Bubba Wallace could end up winning a race this year too. And he's probably going to have a much better points run than SVG.
And so this is where you start to get where guys don't make the playoffs that quote unquote should make it, right? And where guys are left out every year is because I don't have Bubba making the playoffs, but I could easily see Bubba making the playoffs and really probably should get close to making the playoffs, right? Well, if he makes the playoffs, that could be where Joey Logano gets bounced out because he didn't get a win in the first part of the season, the regular season. And that's where guys like Chase Briscoe, if he's not able to find victory lane, get bounced out earlier. Or that's where SVG, if he doesn't find victory lane, gets bounced out. That's why we always end up with upset guys that should have made the playoffs and that you think, you sort of have penciled in early that don't end up making it.
Yeah. And again, it's so tough when you get to I guess from like 14 on for me, that's where it really started to get tough because obviously there's only 2 spots and there's several drivers that I could make a case for that could make it in there anyways. So that's where I was sitting at. Are you curious as to what my rest of my 25? I had to make 25 for the back road. So Are you curious?
Let's hear the rest.
All right. So,
I think that they're going to probably be similar to mine of guys that, you think definitely have a way in, but didn't quite make it. I mean, just looking at the sheet in front of me, I was sad to not put any of the front row guys in the playoffs because I think we could see one in the playoffs.
Well, yeah. So, okay. So 16, like I said, was Allmendinger. Bubba was 17th. SVG.
How are you? Wait, hold on. I zoned right over the Allmendinger thing. How are you getting Allmendinger in the playoffs and not SVG?
He's going to get a road course win. He's going
over SVG in a track car.
It doesn't matter. It's going to happen. Look, if SVG makes it, that's fine. I want.
When's the last time AJ won a road course?
I don't care. It's AJ Allmendinger. I'm putting.
Yeah, but it's not. No.
He's back. He's back. He's going to have more confidence, and he's going to win a road course race this week.
Maybe he wins the day. I'd give him a better chance to win the Daytona 500 than a regular season road course, Rod.
I think he's going to kill it at Watkins Glen. Pack it up. We're good there.
We'll see.
Daniel Suarez comes in at 19th. Hey, listen, we got to argue at some point, don't we? Daniel Suarez, 19, Hocevar 20, Gilliland 21.
Hocevar could be a sneaky guy that points his way in because he just has such a solid season and somebody else shits the bed.
Yeah, could happen.
Yeah.
Gragson 22, Stenhouse 23, Priest 24, McDowell 25.
Stenhouse at 23?
He was not that. I mean, look, he was. Stenhouse was where was he at last year? 25th.
Let me give you the reverse order of drivers, how I see the season going. Cody Ware, Cole Custer, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Okay, sorry. I forgot about Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon, Cody Ware, Cole Custer, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
He did finish 25th last year in the standings. So I'm just saying.
That's actually really shocking. I would not have guessed that high. But
yeah. I'm telling you, that's what I'm saying. That's why when I was looking at it, because I couldn't put Josh Berry over him, couldn't put Jones, couldn't put Zane Smith, couldn't put Haley.
And the one other thing to keep in mind, we have 6 super speedway races. 4 of them, I believe, are in the regular season. Daytona is the final race of the regular season once again, I'm pretty sure. Not looking at the schedule right in front of me, but that's 4 opportunities for 4 complete wild cards. And we just saw Harrison Burton do it last year. We just saw Ricky Stenhouse do it 2 years ago. We saw Michael McDowell do it a few years ago. We saw Austin Cindric come in as a rookie and do it. There is going to be opportunities for guys to upset that apple cart and jump in and grab a spot that they, quote unquote, didn't earn through the points, right? Harrison Burton was the last place guy in the points, but still gets a playoff spot. And you're going to imagine Ty Dillon winning the Daytona 500 rod. And it's not it's not out of the question. I almost guarantee I'll have a top 5 bet on Ty Dillon. Imagine if he's the first guy that they tell you has locked up a playoff spot, even though that's not the case. Boy, shit could get crazy fast.
That's what I'm saying. Like when they're like, hey,
that's your quickest way to 17 winners too, is you get 4 upset winners at super speedways, and that's pretty unlikely, right? But super speedways, anything can happen.
I'm telling you, and that's what I'm saying. They say make a top 25 list, Rod. Go ahead, just give me your top 25 drivers. I was like, Jesus, so I'm beautiful minding it over here, and I'm watching all of these names squiggle by me and formulas, and I just I don't, and so I just puked out 25 names, and thank God they're good. So all right, Cody, then who is your final 4?
Who's your final 4, Rod? Because I got to pick my final 4.
Okay, that's fine. I got Larson, Reddick, Bell, and Blaney. Those are my final 4. Again, it was hard to leave guys like Elliott and Byron and Busch off of it, but in the end, I think those are the 4 that are going to end up making it. Blaney for sure. Bell's going to find his way back in after getting left out last year. And then we know Reddick and Larson are going to be perennial championship contenders. So that's my final 4.
Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, and Christopher Buescher.
Oof. Woof. The Buescher one just doesn't make me feel
going
good.
Different today, Rod.
You are.
I'm feeling spicy. I like it. I'm not giving you a chalk final 4. We're going crazy. Some crazy stuff happens, and don't forget to bet that AJ Allmendinger top Chevy 100-1 in case he does find his way into the playoffs and wins at Talladega.
Hey, listen, I'm telling you right now, there's a method behind the madness. And listen, look, I don't care chalk. I was an instructor. I was a teacher. Okay. So I like chalk. Chalk gets all over my hands, and then I come home and I hug the kids and it's all over their back. And yeah, I mean, chalk's fun. So, all right. Well, Cody, that was a fun dip down into the, this.
Come on, JDK. You knew the RFK love was going to get in there. It had to find its way.
You're lucky you didn't say Ryan Preece. in the Final Four.
Yeah, I didn't put Ryan Priest in the playoffs. He's not going to make the playoffs. The other two guys get in there. They'll probably both be in the Final Four, but I limited it to Busher for now.
Look at you. All right. Well, that'll end the week, man. This is it. This is the last one for the week.
Oh, we're coming back for picks next week. Rod, Clash, Bowman, Gray. Let's fucking go. Yeah, the plan next week, guys, if you're ready for it, even if you're not, it's going to be the plan anyways. Assuming the odds are out, there is no Clash odds yet. But the formula has been announced, all that. So hopefully they're working on odds as we get over the weekend here. On a typical race week, odds start to come out Monday. And then by Tuesday, we sort of have the full lineup. If we have the full lineup on Tuesday, that's the plan. We'll shift accordingly if needed. But we're going to have a Cup Series pick show. We're going to have a DFS show, probably an underdog show as well. Get it all in. Going to be focused on the Clash, making our picks. Pretty fucking excited for that.
Clash. Yeah, I'm so excited, dude. This is happening, Cody. It's finally happening.
We're here. We've made it through the off-season, Rod. So, yeah, very pumped about that. All right. Well, until next week, Rod, you can follow me over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff there. Ton of articles coming out for sportsgamblingpodcast.com. AFC Championship preview is out over there. Rod, I found a prop bet that is the number that it is set at has hit 14 times in a row in the playoffs. So go check that out. Bet on that prop on a specific player. And then, F1 Construct title stuff is out over there. So if you're wanting some more F1 stuff, articles out over there on the website. Arena Football 1 stuff is out. Check it all out. Follow the show as well at NASCAR Gambling. See you guys next week for some race picks. Let's fucking go.
Woohoo! Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the about everything I got going on, whether it's here. Check out In Between Media for the Backroad. Seth and Elliott holding it down this week, but I'll join them again next week, and we'll start talking about the Clash as well. And then, of course, there's that special link in there that'll take you to some rugby odds. You want some rugby? Of course you want some rugby. Who doesn't want rugby? And then there'll be some esports odds coming out as well. Gotta love all and every sport, and we do. All right, well, then we'll see you next week for the Clash, everybody. Until then, sleep tight. We'll see you then. Let's go racing and let it ride.